I'm going to take a few minutes to welcome or recognize all our speakers, and then we can proceed to the next segment of the program. So today's Africa Day celebration, we have the Honorable Rachel Van Des, who is the Minister for Small Businesses of Canada. We also have the Honorable Agel Karabaga, who just left us now. She's the Member of Parliament for London West. She just gave us the opening keynote. We also will be having the Honorable Brian May. He's the Parliamentary Secretary and the Minister of the Minister of Small Businesses. So he will be representing the Honorable Minister Rachel today. Of course, we have our distinguished leader, Dr. Olutoyin Oyalade, founder president of CASA Foundation. We also have Soya Shuril, the interim president and CEO of Invest Canada. She'll be on the panel shortly. We have Dr. Samuel Ojo, assistant professor, Institute of African Studies at the Carleton University. We have Lisa Brown, executive director, Table of Impact Investment Practitioners, director of community engagement. She'll also be here with us today. We will then have John Nelson, director, Innovation Hub, Carleton University. We have Giraffe Bloor, president of the Canada Africa Chamber of Business and co-founder of the Africa Foresight Fund. He'll also be on the panel. We'll have Fred Sherman, strategic advisor of Canadian ombudsperson responsible for enterprise, Global Affairs Canada. He's also a panelist today. We have architect Olusola Oyalade, managing partner of Archie Projects, Inc. He's here with us today. We have Jonah Chinga, co-founder and CEO of Volovs. He's here with us today. We have Aaron Pendu, First Secretary, Education and Economic Trade at the Commission of Republic of Zambia. He's here with us. We have Miss Venice Molay, First Secretary, Economic Affairs, the High Commission of the United Republic of Tanzania. She's here with us as well. We have Grafael Consta, Director, Canadian Chamber of Commerce. We have Dr. Mohamed Emily, Executive Director, Diversity Institute. He's also here with us. And finally, you have me. My name is Audrey Yamo. I'm also the president of the Ghanaian Canadian Chamber of Commerce and also the executive director at Reality Capital Management, an accounting firm based in Toronto. So we are thrilled to have you here. It's going to be an exciting day. As we can see, we just started. And so I'm not going to take too much of your time. We're just going to dive into discussions right now. We'll be welcoming to the stage for our first panel discussion, which will be under the topic, the African Diaspora Youth Advantage, Investing in Creativity, Innovation, and Skills for Economic Success in Canada. This session, we are very honored to have Miss Soya Shuril, Interim President and CEO of Invest Ottawa, to guide us for this discussion. So we'd like to welcome her to the stage. Thank you very much. We are privileged to have distinguished panel of experts who will dive into essential topics today, and they'll be answering the questions on this topic. Please join me in welcoming some of our esteemed panelists. Dr. Samuel Ojo, if he's here. He's Associate Professor for African Studies at Carleton University. we have Miss Jelisa Brown, Executive Director of Table of Impact. She's here. Thank you so much. We would like to welcome Mr. John Nelson. If he said that, Mr. John Nelson is the Director of Innovation Hub at the Carleton University as well. And then finally, we have Clement Isen, who is the Executive Director of the York Foundation. He came all the way from Calgary, right? From Vancouver. Yes, Leverage. That's a very far place. So he's here with us today. Thank you so much, and we are glad to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is a privilege and an honor to be with you today. As mentioned, my name is Sonia Shorey. I'm honored to serve as the interim president and CEO of Invest Ottawa, our lead economic development agency here in Canada's capital. How many people in this room have either interacted with or know a little bit about Invest Ottawa? Oh my goodness, look at all the hands. My heart is so warm and so full. We are here for you. We are here to support all aspiring, current, future, next generation entrepreneurs, industry leaders, business owners, together with and for our community. We do nothing in isolation, and we are on a very important diversity, equity, and inclusion journey, and it is such an honor to be with you, to learn from you all, and to take your insights back to our corporation and help bring them to our community today. I also serve as a director of the board of Elevate International. I'd love to recognize Cassandra Dorrington, who is the chair of Elevate International. It is such a privilege to collaborate with you. If you're not familiar with this organization, it is dedicated to focusing on enabling and equipping marginalized young women founders from every single walk of life, including those from African heritage. And it is just an honor, and they are doing amazing things. I'm also the co-founder of SheBoot, the Women Investment Readiness Boot Camp that helps put more capital in the hands of women founders from every walk of life, and a World Economic Forum fellow. And I'm really thrilled to help facilitate this important discussion today. And our topic, as mentioned, the African Diaspora Youth Advantage, investing in the creativity, innovation, skills, and economic development for Canada. And so I am going to invite each of our distinguished panelists to introduce themselves, because I could never do them justice with their incredible backgrounds, and invite them to also share a little bit about the organization they lead and represent, and why they are so excited and passionate about this topic today. Begin here. Welcome. I think maybe, do I provide these wonderful folks with these mics? I think I'm going to give this a try.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Thank you for having me. My name is Samuel Ojo Oloruntoba. The middle name is for the elders. If you are not up to 50, don't dare to call it. So, I work at the Institute of African Studies, Carleton University. We pride ourselves as this only standalone institute offering undergraduate and postgraduate program in Canada. I work on political economy of Africa. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I work on knowledge production. I work with the African Union. I work with the United Nations to see how Africa can recover its pride in the Committee of Nations. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julissa Brown Apia. I am the daughter of Grace Brown, who is the daughter of Delcina Mitu, who is the daughter of Etel Dennis, who is the daughter of Amanda Smelly. Today, I join you as a youth from the diaspora. If you trace my history and continue to bring it back, you'll know that my family was stolen from Ghana, and I was born here in Toronto by way of Jamaica. And so I'm so glad to bring the power and strength of my ancestors and my grandmothers and everything that I do, because I'm just like them in another body, and bringing their spirits along in the work that I do. Today, I wear the hat of the Executive Director of the Table of Impact Investment Practitioners, otherwise known as TIP. We run a community of practice for fund managers across Canada. We are also recognized as one of the shareholders of Boan Social Impact, which is one of the wholesalers that was provided a portion of the $755 million put out through the Canada's Social Finance Fund. I came to this work through the work that I was doing with SETSI as the Director of Community Engagement. And that's where I really got to connect deep into the community, helping folks understand what's going on within social finance across Canada. And due to my experience, I've launched a new initiative called Funding Impact, where I'm helping Black entrepreneurs and millennials figure out how to get their business investment ready. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'm excited to share more with you today. Thank you.
Amazing.
Morning, everyone. My name is John Nelson. I'm the director of the Innovation Hub at Carleton University. So I have the privilege of actually being able to support students from across campus who are interested in starting new businesses. We have a large number of students who are coming in on a daily basis with ideas and hoping to actually turn that into something tangible here in Ottawa or Canada, and a few folks who are actually coming from other countries with businesses that they're hoping to actually bring to Canada as well. So thank you very much for including me, and looking forward to the conversation.
Morning, everyone. My name is Clement Asene. I serve as Executive Director of an organization called BIPO Foundation. I bring you greetings from the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains in Lethbridge, and the Métis people of Alberta Region 3. And at BIPOC Foundation, we do three things. Our work is centered around economic empowerment, financial inclusion, and representation for underrepresented communities. And we do this by providing relatable pathways to success for entrepreneurs, working with them to provide the leverage and the support that they need to give them a leg up in their businesses. And we also work with youth to help provide guidance and direction towards understanding career path and entrepreneurship as well. I'm happy to add my voice in this conversation today. Thank you.
As you can see, we have an incredibly rich series of panelists with a wealth of expertise and experience from right across Canada. And I'm very excited by the entrepreneurship focus that was a part of our initial discussion leading up to today, because it's something that we're at Invest Ottawa very passionate about. We're collaborating here in the region with Changemaker Hub, which is an incredible new initiative that's directly supporting young and aspiring Black entrepreneurs, with the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. I work directly with John Nelson through our Scale Up platform with our other post-secondaries here. So this is going to be an incredible discussion, and I cannot wait to learn. First, I would like to focus and hear from you all about the specific advantages or unique skills that African diaspora youth bring to the Canadian economy and workforce. And I'd love to hear stories or examples of how those incredible youth are really contributing to our economy. Who would like to kick us off? John, I know you so well. Let's jump right in.
There we go. I think one of the most exciting things that we get to do on a daily basis is to work with students. One of the things that they do is they challenge us to think differently. I didn't realize that I was old until I started working with students, and they started to come in. It's like, okay, we need to figure out what the old folks are doing. John, can you come and give us some ideas here? It's really, really cool. I think one of the things that we've noticed is the students that are coming in to see us from Africa. We have a large number of students who are coming in to a large number of our programs, in particular our Technology Innovation Management program, which is a tech entrepreneurship program at the master's level. And what sets those students apart is drive. They've got ideas, they think big, and they're not afraid to challenge ideas and challenge the way that we traditionally do things. And one of the things that we try to do in the Innovation Hub is we remind our students, we're not running your business for you. We're not going to actually take your business from one level to the next. We want to empower you to be able to do that yourself. So we're going to ask questions, we're going to know you, and make sure that whatever room you walk into, you're able to answer the questions that are posed. And the students from Africa come with a really great sense of drive, fantastic ideas, and there's a sense of commitment to family and to the land that we don't see as much from other places. And that's been one of the most exciting things about supporting the companies and supporting the students who are coming from the continent.
Amazing. We don't use the word old. We use the word vintage. Just saying. Vintage is much, much better. Um, seasoned. There's another great word. That is incredible. And I know that there are a lot of women, up and coming women students from Africa who are also being supported through the TIM program at Carleton and through the Innovation Hub, which is incredibly exciting to me.
Right. Youth, African diaspora youth, very resilient, come with loaded with that cultural knowledge and that calmness that an environment like this needs. When it comes to innovation and design thinking, being able to be culturally aware and being able to find what problems are out there and to connect them with the solutions, from their cultural backgrounds. It's something that we've found, working with youths. These folks grow up in environments where it's not, there is no other choice than to success than to be successful, right? If you take Nigeria for instance, we have more than 200, we're counting around 250 million people right now in that country, and 6-7% of them are youth. You can imagine the level of competition that exists in that market, and what does that create? The yearn for success. You need to differentiate yourself in the market, and that's the kind of drive that those youths are bringing to Canada, and it's the same all across Africa, the youngest continent in the world today, and the same level of drive. I can tell you the story of Michael, who's a young Afro-Canadian gentleman who came here, equipped himself with knowledge, but without continuing to think about Africa and how he can make a difference in Africa. We're able to work with Michael, supported him, is making a difference in the healthcare space with a company called Clinify, able to raise some venture fund, and is back to Africa right now, making connections across the continent, and trying to bring online medical records, and to ensure that when people move from city to city, it's easier to access their records, it's easier to access insurance. Or maybe I can tell you the story of Dami, who I've always wanted to own a restaurant, but there was no pathway to it, right? And Dami came to us, and we had a conversation. He says, "Well, I'd love to own a restaurant one day," and conversation led to a point where we said it's possible, you can, right? And a few months later, a couple of programs later, a couple of advisory sessions later, Dami now owns a restaurant, in my city, which makes me very proud. Or a gentleman called Josiah, who we met, on our roadshow in Saskatoon. When I can tell you that the first conversation with Josiah was not the best conversation, because Josiah wasn't sure exactly what he wanted to do. And that's a challenge that a lot of people, face. I can tell you that one of the most difficult things that we can do, that people, do in life, that one of the most difficult challenge that you face in life, that I've faced in my life, is deciding what you want to do with your life. Being able to make that decision where you want to channel your life, where you want to channel your career, especially in a world where we have, I want to say, seriously outdated curriculums in schools, right? The curriculum that we have in schools could really, use some updates, and these people are graduating these courses and they don't know what they want to do. But 6 months down the line, Josiah now owns a cleaning agency and has 10 contracts, and is employing people, in Saskatoon. So these are some of the resilient success stories that we're seeing within our community. I can see my friend here, Jonah Chininga, disrupting the fintech space, and just creating jobs, and just continuously contributing to the Canadian economy. So there is opportunities to continue to provide the right support and the right foundations that allow these youths to do more.
I'm so inspired by the stories you shared, capturing heart and mind. I think that's something that inspires and delivers actionable insight. And you're highlighting such a critical need to have access to resources, to the programs, and to ensure that they're easy to access and not cumbersome. And that's almost a beautiful flow through into our next question. We're going to have so much exciting discussion. What do you see as some of the challenges that our youth are facing in accessing these opportunities and achieving the economic success that you've just described, Clement, in some very beautiful stories that you shared? And how can we here in Canada leverage these talents and experiences of this youth to help bridge the gaps that we currently face? Jaleesa, I'd love to hear from you. I'm so passionate about what you're doing in terms of investment. It's such a critical area.
Thank you so much. I would definitely say that the youth of diaspora play such a huge role in what's going on in the economy, but we do not always place trust and support behind these youth to do these things. And so I definitely would say that that is a really big challenge. First off, getting the youth into the space. One way that we've done that at TIP is allowing folks at membership tables like the board to, state their work experience, but they also got to share their lived experience and their points of intersectionality as value. So they got to say, yeah, I've been in investing for 3 years, but I'm also a member of the BIPOC community. I also, identify as an elder or a youth in the space. And so, having this lived experience count for something definitely allows or opens more opportunities for youth to be able to step into these leadership decisions. And, I think that that is something that's so needed, especially with, we're at a point, I think, where a lot of the elders are looking to grow out of the space and they're not finding enough people to pass the baton to. And so there's so much room for a generational transfer that's not exactly happening. And I would say the onus is on the youth and it's also on the elders. The elders, have to play a role in ensuring that they're passing these things on to the next generation without feeling like, oh, if I pass the baton, they'll rip it out of my hands and, run with it. But on the other side, it's like the youth also need to reach out to the elders and say, hey, elder, I recognize that there's, these skills and things that I would like to, have passed on from you, and here are the ways that we can expand or grow as communities. And so I think that's certainly an important piece. And the youth of the diaspora, we are the innovators, we are the leaders, we are the baton passers. I think that we are those ones that are actively practicing Sankofa, for anyone that knows that principle, go back and get it. That is a big part of the role of the youth in this time of connecting the old ways and the traditions and practices with, the new technologies and ways of communicating in media and, connecting all of the dots. So I definitely say that the youth have a large role in that and will certainly require some decolonization of the minds of our communities to make that happen. I think sometimes when we talk about barriers to access, we often say, hey, those, they are blocking us. We don't always assess, how are we as a community and people blocking each other from this growth? And so, today, as we, think about Africa Day and the decolonization of our continent, we also should think about the decolonization of our minds and, what it means to our community's progression.
Those are such beautiful words, and I know that each of us can take that and implement it in our own context, no matter what role we hold. I believe you can lead firmly from any single position. Thank you so much for those insights. Samuel, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I like to disrupt. First, to the first question you asked, I think we need to make a kind of conceptual clarification about African diaspora. We should not just look at the third generation of African diaspora. We should look at the first generation of African diaspora in Canada. And I think they face different challenges from the ones that are just coming now because they have been victim of this systematic marginalization of blacks in this country. Good enough, there are changes now. So, but those demographic need to have special attention paid to them because some of the advantages that those of us who came from Africa have, they don't have it. In terms of education, for instance, in terms of skill, in terms of that confidence to push and to, the pull pressure to make you to succeed. That is very important to make that distinction between that generation of diaspora. And then to also add that apart from some of the great points that the other speakers mentioned about what they brought here, African diaspora brought cultural continuity. The women, they went to make their hair. That's a kind of entrepreneurship activity. We have African restaurant, we have suya joint, people eat, and that's the kind of entrepreneurial activity that fill a particular need apart from making money. That the fact that you can get a Nigerian food, for instance, to eat, a jollof rice to eat, it gives you some kind of satisfaction. That's one of the things that the African diaspora bring to meet the African need. In terms of challenges, I think one of the key challenges that challenge that I identify is the lack of stories of heroes of African diaspora. I was teaching something on African diaspora, and it took me a lot of time to find stories of Africans who have succeeded in Canada. And I think there should be a kind of study geared towards that, a project maybe by CASA Foundation to say a syndicated story of African young people who are succeeding that you can easily access anytime you want to have that. In terms of policy, we're having a project with the Spro School, with John Nelson Center, on the Canadian policies on black entrepreneurship. The policies are not as straightforward as one would expect it to be. A lot of hindrances, a lot of restrictions based for whatever reason. So I think those policies need to be redefined to ensure more inclusion. Thank you.
So important. So important. Policy advocacy, another opportunity that absolutely any one of us can undertake. And I think there's such power in critical mass, those with lived experience helping us to drive forward on the change that we want to see. I'd like to move now to the role that you believe education and skills development programs play in unlocking the potential of African diaspora youth in Canada. I want to start with John, because of course you're one of our partners at Carleton University.
So I think one of the most important things for us to be able to do when we have these kinds of programs is number one, to be able to just keep the conversation going and to provide opportunities to connect those students and new entrepreneurs with the opportunities that are actually available within Canada. We have quite a few programs that are actually there to support entrepreneurs who come from different backgrounds, who are in different fields. And we hear quite often, I didn't know that was there. I didn't know I can do that. Who do I go speak to in order to access that? So things like the Scale Up program that we have an opportunity to work with, it gives us an opportunity to take our students and facilitate, actually open more doors for them to scale their businesses. For others, it's we need access to loans. We just need to understand who we needed to ask those questions and what questions we need to ask prior to actually getting into the room. It's making sure that they feel heard. For us, I think one of the challenges that we also had with some of these programs is students and student founders and entrepreneurs who are coming in from the community didn't see themselves in the room or in the, not panels, but the groups that they were actually applying for help. So what we've been trying to do is to change the face of the mentors and the advisors that we have. I'm joined by a few of our advisors as well, and it gives us an opportunity to say, we have people from Africa who are here who can answer questions for you. We have people in the community who may not be from Africa, but they have connections that you can actually be connected with. Carleton is incredibly lucky in the fact that our next president, who's going to be joining us in January, is from Ghana. That's a big deal. So it gives students an opportunity to say, there's somebody there who's in a position that I didn't know we could get into, or no one had actually gone into prior to that, and that's huge. That's why these programs allow us to just open doors and remind people it's possible.
This is amazing, and I completely resonate with the need for more role models. That is unbelievable. I'm so thrilled to hear and that announcement come from Carleton. Fantastic. Clement, I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you very much. Education and skill development, you can't overemphasize the importance of these two when it comes to developing the youth, African youth diaspora here in Canada. These are very, very key. But again, when you look at it, it's a significant pathway. It's one that the African diaspora has historically embraced. You look at the data of youth, migrating to Canada, a lot of them come as students. I came to Canada as a student, and when I came here, again, talking about the curricula and how we're able to distill and focus on the direction that we wanted to go with our life and the impact, that we wanted to make in the community, it became, very, very key that I had the right support, the right mentorship, but there's a lot of work, like we've said, there's a lot of policy work that needs to be done, right? There's a lot of work in mentorship. There's a lot of work as it concerns representation. If you want people, it's and I preach this every day, right? You want to see yourself, in a community. If you want to feel a monk, and you don't see yourself represented in the leadership, then it's difficult to aspire. You need a different level of motivation to aspire when you cannot see a role model or when you cannot see yourself in the leadership of either the community or the industry or the sector that you are looking to play in. And that is the reason why there is need for intentionality. We need to intentionally accompany education and skill development with the right support and guidance. We've talked about access to capital, access to funding, extremely essential, because we have fewer generations, of immigrants, especially, the African diaspora. We don't, a lot of youth when they come here, and especially those who come as students, there is the financial system doesn't support investment in these youths when they become innovative. Right now, there is no bank that will give a loan to a student entrepreneur who have found, innovative pathways. I know there is opportunities for alternative sources of funding, right? But those are limited as well. So there needs to be intentional paths created to support this resilient Afro-Canadian youth that are, trying to create innovation within the society.
I could not agree with you more. Yeah, that does deserve applause. We need to create more resources and make it easier for them to access with less terms and conditions and roadblocks and barriers. Jaleesa, I'd love to hear from you on this.
Thank you. Just a little different type of education or skills development. I don't want us to forget about rites of passage for the youth. I feel that, Canada being such a melting pot of cultures, it's so easy for us to get lost in the pot that's melting. And I think that, this generation, then generations to come for youth, the more that we melt together, the more that we lose ourselves in what's going on in society. And I think that one thing that's come strong from the continent is the way that we teach our children and raise the youth and, allow them to go through different experiences that might not include, reading a textbook. And so I think I just want to say that the rites of passage experience that we have as a culture is one that feels like it's becoming lost, and now is the wrong time to lose it.
Powerful words, and so true.
Yeah.
Samuel.
Thank you. First, I will talk about the need for integrative education. That African diaspora coming here, they have different cultural experiences. They need to adjust. For instance, when I started teaching at Caltech University, when they asked us to provide accommodation for students, I used to think, where will I get houses to put the student? I didn't know that accommodation means concession, So those kind of linguistic differences, those kind of, differences in language, it matters a lot, right? So they need to have integrative education to allow them to fit into the society. We should also not forget about indigenous knowledge.
Yes.
Indigenous knowledge, I'm leading a continental project now on indigenous knowledge and entrepreneurship in Africa, and we're comparing African experiences with Canadian experiences. The orthodox definition of entrepreneurship is about self-success, it's about self-accumulation. But for African context, it's about community. So even as they come here, it is important to train them that when you succeed, you don't just succeed for yourself, you succeed for the community. So those kind of knowledge, they're very important, and Caltech is providing those kind of support for African students. And we also need mentors who who can provide that beyond the formal structure of education.
Absolutely.
We need informal structure, mentors that can lead them to succeed. Yeah.
And Carlton really is leading here in our community on this front, and it is a privilege to collaborate with them in so many different ways. I'm cognizant that we have about 10 minutes left. We have 2 more questions. Collaboration is something I'm incredibly passionate about, and I have learned through our journey. Collaboration with and not for is absolutely critical. People with lived experiences, Jaleesa was just sharing. How can we continually increase the collaboration and the networking among African diaspora youth in Canada to share resources, the wealth of knowledge, the hard skills, the soft skills, the culture, and the opportunities? How can we better facilitate that in Canada? And Clement is going to kick us off.
Right. No, thanks. Again, collaboration is extremely essential. And we live in a world where, I should start from where we're coming from, and then I'll talk about collaboration. We talked about competition a little bit earlier, right? And living in, a world where the structures, growing up in a world where the structures have not allowed the resources to be well harnessed, to be abundant enough to share, it leaves no option than to compete instead of collaborate. But now that we are here, there's opportunities for collaboration. I'm extremely excited today that we're having this conversation in Ottawa, right? I think it's a start. Over the last couple of years, there's been significant organizations, partners, colleagues, institutions that have risen up and that are seeing the need. And where I come from, they say a problem known is half solved, right? The problem has been identified. There is a gap and people are rising up. The thing we now need to do is to bring the collective together and be targeted in the approach. Right now, like at BIPOC Foundation, we hold several, community events. We hold several business-focused events. We bring youths. But if you're looking to target the youth, if you're looking to bring them in the room, we should also be aware that there are several things happening. There are several changes happening in the world right now that is, pulling the youths a little bit away, that you begin to wonder in 5 years' time, who's going to hone these critical skills to take care of this sector? What is the succession plan for certain critical sectors now that everybody is congregating around social media and some of these, things that are causing distraction, so to speak, And when we begin to think about that, we think what is left is to raise an action plan to ensure that we're intentionally creating those succession plan and providing the opportunity for those cross-pollination and networking opportunities to happen moving forward.
And we can do that in cities, in communities, in provinces, in countries, and globally. And we're going to come to our global responsibility in a moment. John.
I think one of the things that we have been noticing in some of the conversations is the need for people to say, it's like, okay, do we collaborate or do we compete? I think competition is important. It's really, really good. It keeps us on our toes and that sort of thing. And that's what we need our entrepreneurs to be thinking about, regardless of where they come from. One of the cool things about the way that we work together, I run an innovation hub at Carleton University. There's one at the University of Ottawa. There's stuff at La Cité. There's stuff at Invest Ottawa. We all work together when we need to. We're all competing for funding the same way that all the other companies are competing for funding, but whoever wins, we then go and we call everybody else and say, we've got this funding, can we help you as well? And that's really important. And we try to do the same thing with the folks who are coming through the hub, with the students and the entrepreneurs who are coming from Africa. One of the cool things that they do is they always remember their family, they remember the people that they worked with, they remember the people that helped them to get there, and they need to not forget it. Continue to compete, but remember to bring along the others with you. So as long as we can continue these programs, yes, we need to be better than everybody else. Somebody needs to win, but bring along the people that help you get there as well.
Taking actions on these principles will change the world. If we each did this in our scope of influence, we would change the world that much faster and see the change we need to see. Other thoughts?
Okay. I mean, I would just talk about what I call paradigm shift. As Africans, we need a paradigm shift from destructive competition to collaboration. In my language, they talk about Agbajowo Lafin Soya. I don't know whether you understand that. That's a Yoruba word. That it is in collectivity that we succeed more than when you do it alone. We have, I don't know whether it is historical or cultural, but this aspiration to be a lone star is a problem for us. And we need to learn to shift our mind, especially as young Africans, to shift our mind from the pursuit of being a lone star. I'm the best, I'm the best. When you're just the best and other people are struggling and suffering, it doesn't mean anything. So we need that paradigm shift to learn to work together. Compete, yes, but compete, progressively, not in a destructive manner.
So much inspiration on this panel. My last question is around how we take this wealth of expertise and experience and how can we support youth entrepreneurship and job creation in Africa from here in Canada. It's a global responsibility. It's an immense opportunity. And I know you all as leaders are very focused in your spheres of influence on how you can help to do this. I would love for you to share examples with our audience.
Well, thanks for that. This is particularly near and dear to my heart because I always think leverage first. I think the growing and teeming numbers of African diaspora in Canada provides a significant opportunity for leverage for Canada. And I say that because we are here, because the innovative youths are here, there is opportunities to plant those seeds. There's opportunities to make those significant investments in the people and allow those people to act as the pollen to disseminate and create accountability frameworks that allows Canada to ensure that these my people, these Canada's people, these Afro-Canadians are actually going to do the work as ambassadors and creating the change that we want to see. I do not believe in aid. I think that the best way Canada can work with Africa is to leverage Afro-Canadians in Canada to create the change that we want to see.
Harnessing those relationships, ambassadorship, such a powerful concept, building on relationships that exist and growing them further into communities. Beautiful.
So there's one thing to do with the relationships. The other thing is just keep the conversations going. I think one of the things that we forget sometimes is to use the people who are around us. We're in Ottawa. We have a ton of embassies and high commissions right here, and we don't always get an opportunity to use them and to say, these are the things that we need, these are the things that we can help you with. And that's really, really important. We've got fantastic academic programs that we can bring people to actually learn and train with, but we have other opportunities for them to actually be able to come and say, I need a student to do this. Can you come and do a project with me? So we engage companies and entrepreneurs in a whole bunch of different areas, whether it's training or support or just information or just connections. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things. For us, we have a lot of partnerships that we're working with in different parts of Africa. We have a few that we're working with now in Nigeria. We're working on a few things that we're hoping will come through our connections in Lesotho. Like, there are lots of little things that are happening that not everybody's always aware of. Yes, you have to keep some things on embargo until you're actually able to talk about them. But when you're successful, tell everybody. Come and let us know what you're doing. We may not know that you are the person that we need to talk to. So come and introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, and we'll do the same as much as we can.
Creating those pathways, making it accessible, helping people to feel confident to have those conversations, such a critical success factor. Jaleesa.
I would say that when it comes to reaching Africa from Canada, actually, for the past 4 years, I've been spending a lot of time in Ghana. And one thing that I learned was that the people on the continent don't need what we think they need. They need us to listen to them and what their needs are, and for us to provide our support accordingly. And so that's one of my biggest takeaways, spending a lot of time there. In the work that I'm doing at TIP, we are connected to the Global Steering Group. Through the Global Steering Group, we are reestablishing Canada's National Advisory Board on Impact Investing. And so within this, one thing that we learned is that Global Affairs Canada actually supports a number of Latin American NABs, but none of the African NABs are supported by Global Affairs Canada. That's Ghana, Nigeria, a whole bunch of countries that could receive this type of access. But for some reason, whether it's the Global Affairs Canada or we just have not been able to connect the dots. So part of the work we're doing is saying, okay, this is a way that as a Canadian, we can reach out to the representatives from the government and say, okay, here are pathways, or here are communities that could use your support in the same way that Latin American NABs can. And so I saw that there's someone from Global Affairs Canada in here. I will definitely be coming to find you.
Amazing. Calls to action happening right here on the stage. This is what it's all about, driving action. Samuel.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would just say first, there should be intentionality about changing the landscape, changing the narrative, changing the African position here in Canada. We need to be bold about it. We need to be imaginative about it. And we need to set goals to achieve something. Because here, even those opportunities are available, sometimes we don't assess them because we have very low voice. And we can't build political power without economic power. We need to build economic power. We need to provide funding, whether through the conventional means or unconventional means of raising funds from successful Africans to support upcoming ones. And in the context of the African-Canadian strategy, I'm aware they've downgraded it now, but I hope they take it up again to a strategy that the continent, we shouldn't be coming to Canada to beg. We have the market, we have the resources, and we will expect them to come to Africa, but we need a strategy. Africa needs a strategy to engage, whether with Canada or US or anywhere. So, because I do tell my students that there's no free lunch anywhere, no, not in Ottawa, not in Pretoria, not in Paris or anywhere. It is about interest. So what is Africa interest in, supporting young people to build their entrepreneurial capacity, getting Canadian companies to behave more responsibly in Africa. Garrett is here. I'm sure he's working on that. Getting the Canadian government to formulate laws like the US has done to hold companies accountable while operating in Africa, and then to leverage on the opportunities provided by the Africa Continental Free Trade area.
Amazing. So much inspiration and actionable insight, action that we can take together as a community, as individuals, as leaders from every perspective. I don't know whether we have time for questions. I'm going to look to see if we'd like to take one or two questions. Oh, yes. Marvelous. I know I'm running a little bit behind. Questions right here. Welcome.
I can probably jump in. Like for me, I think one of the reasons we use those as examples is because Carleton is a predominantly Anglophone institution, but we do have bilingual folks and we have people from all across Africa. It just depends on who we actually have access to. I think one of the things you can probably do is when we look across the folks that we work with, whenever we do a project, we work really closely with the Entrepreneurship Hub at the University of Ottawa. We work with our colleagues at La Cité as well. It may just be a matter of finding the folks who are here who have that either linguistic capacity or roots in those countries to be able to be able to continue using those stories. We do have a lot of folks who are able to help. It's just a matter of making sure that they're front and center when needed. But happy to chat with you after as well.
And elevating those stories, elevating those role models, and absolutely, absolutely. Excellent. I see a question in the corner. Welcome.
For the youth, the entrepreneur that we're trying to target. Like we've talked about it now in Ottawa. We're here. But when we go, what do we do after here? Like, what is the thing, the awareness created in Canada here for other people all over Canada? We have a lot of Africans everywhere.
Yes.
Like for me, I came in from Peterborough this morning. So we have people in Toronto, we have people in Saskatchewan, we have people everywhere. Do we have an organization or create a one that where everybody's voice can be heard, even if it's through online? So we need to do something about this. We love what we're seeing, but something has to be done.
One national organization that we're collaborating with is the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. They're relatively new, funded, I think, in part by FedDev Ontario. Nikki Clark, amazing human in Toronto. That would be one. The organizations on this stage, of course, leadership being expressed right across the country. Jaleesa.
I can also share, I'm on the youth advisory board of a group called Youth in Diaspora, led by a young brother named Arthur Amadi. Youth in Diaspora is meant to do just that, bring together the youth from diaspora that are in diaspora. So it's really like, opportunities to connect around business, politics, and even as people. So any youth in the space, anyone that has connection to youth, please tell them about Youth in Diaspora. It is a pretty new organization, and we're definitely looking to expand nationwide.
I just want to add my voice. I agree with you. Something needs to be done, but what I can tell you is 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were not having conversations at this scale. So something is being done. There is organizations that are sprung up, that are connecting the dots. Leaders are connecting the dots across the nation. And for us to get to this point, it's taking work. I mean, we could use a little bit more speed, but work is being done, and we will get there.
When I heard some of the stories that were shared on the stage, I think there's so much power in individual communities. That's where individuals connect with other people, that you feel that connection and that trust to go and seek those resources. The story you shared about the gentleman that wanted that restaurant, and now it happened because the community came together. Don't underestimate the power of what happens in individual communities across this country. There's always power in critical mass, and the organizations that are here, the leaders that are here and in this audience, have that opportunity to connect to others, to create that catalytic effect. Such an incredible discussion. One last question. Yes.
Hi, mine is a part question and part comment. So I've been in business for a while, but what I have noticed and what I'm hearing now, and I hope the conversations that go on further on will also focus on non-youth participants, because there is so many resources out there for youth. And when we were youth, there was nothing like this for us. So speaking for us, the moms.
Vintage, yes.
There's some roadblocks to us when we decide to start a business to get to the next level, because every single program is like, you have to be between this age and this age, or you have to be a startup, or you have to be. So there is, I know a lot of you focus on youth, but there's so many business people, global business people out there that started at 56, at 60, at 70. Microsoft, name all the big companies. So where is the space for us? Yes.
Okay.
Which city are you in? Are you from? I would love to hear which city you are in. Which city are you from? Are you here from Ottawa? You're in Ottawa. Okay, can you come see me at Invest Ottawa? Because I want to help you and connect you with resources that are right here in Ottawa. They exist. John would know this because we're part of a larger collaboration. There are networks across this country, regional innovation centers here in Ontario. I want to say there are 27. There are hubs across the country, Canada's Tech Network. There are small business enterprise centers and similar organizations in every single province. Entrepreneurship resources for a variety of folks from every single walk of life and every type of business, stage, sector do exist. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm privileged to be connected to a lot of these networks given the nature of the role that I hold, and I'm happy to connect together with my team. If you're here in Ottawa, please come and see us. Come and see Carleton. We have amazing organizations here on the stage. CASA, there's just been so much leadership in this room today. So please connect to me. I'm happy to help you. But for others, there are networks of incubators, accelerators, innovation hubs. If you've got an entrepreneurship passion, I can help connect you. And I think that might be time. Thank you so much to our incredible panelists and for the opportunity to have this important discussion today, and to everyone who joined us. Thank you.